Well, guys, welcome. ETHDenver 2020. Woo! Who's ready for this? I've been ready for this since last year. This is my absolute favorite time of year. And why? Because you all are here in town. And it's a very special time. And we're here to kick this off right with Crypto Mondays. It's been the first time in a while. In fact, we have the very originator of Crypto Mondays here with us today. We'll introduce here shortly. But first I want to say thank you in general for being here at Biddle Week. This is definitely by far, out of all the Ethereum Denver stuff we get to do, this might be my favorite. Why? Because we get to have more like low-key, more like comfortable conversations, and as opposed to feeling like we're under the grind for a hackathon. So keep coming. We've got free co-working here the rest of the week. And a bazillion more events. You can look on ethdenver.com/BiddleWeek to find all the things. And I'd like to say also a shout out, we've got Cryptoarado here. So along with ETHDenver, Cryptoarado is a local community year-round. So if you guys want to stick around for being a nomad, or heck, you want to come live with us, please do. Cryptoarado, I think, is the place to be. So with that, I think I want to kick off things and get Felipe, who is going to be telling you a little bit about an event. If you like DeFi and DAOs, well, we have a whole day dedicated to DAOs coming up, you guys. DAOfest, and that's what this fine gentleman's coming to do.
All right.
Well, guys, this is one of those situations that the content of the email is in the subject line. So please come to DAOfest on Thursday the 13th at the Sports Castle, starting 10 a.m. There's a full day for DAOs, 2 stages, 1 workshop room, 1 really big weird panel at the end. And I hope to see you there. It's free, there will be food provided, all those nice things. Any questions?
Where do we go to buy tickets?
You don't, it's free, just show up, stake on kickback, then you get reputation in the DAO and you get free entry to the after party. The after party is called Nothing Scheduled. So schedule nothing for Thursday night. It's at the Myra's Gallery, 3 DJ sets, a band, promotion band. That's it.
Nice.
And now with you, the main events, the most beautiful man in crypto. He's fit, come on. Lou Kerner.
Yeah. All right, so I'm really looking forward to DAOfest. It's going to be a great event. As I said, I'm Lou Kerner. I'm the founder of Crypto Mondays, which we started in New York on January 8th, 2018. We just had our 100th. There have been Crypto Mondays now in 56 cities. By way of background, the second company I ran was called Bolt. We were the largest social network in the world. We peaked at 23 million kids before MySpace blew by us. I was the first person called Zuckerberg and offered to buy Facebook a month after he launched it at Harvard. So I've been in and around social. I was an investor in Meetup, which is why I started my first Meetup, because CEO kept on saying, when are you gonna start a Meetup? And I started one, and they're like magic. The people you want to show up, just like show up, and all you have to do is like take a minute. It was a great product, continues to be an amazing product, but when I saw crypto, the crypto light on June 29th, 2017, I saw it, for me, and I think it's infinite, and I think when everybody sees it, everybody sees something different based on their prism. When I saw it, I saw a community, and that now there's an opportunity, instead of a man being in the middle, that we're all basically, he's solving for him and we're all getting fucked. Now the community can decide, and I've run community, I understand communities, and I understand, so putting these two things together. So we started Crypto Mondays now in 57 cities. It's awesome. Every Monday I'm at a different, once a month I try to go to new ones. This is my first time here, so Dan, thanks a lot. For doing this. This is awesome. We're completely decentralized. We are totally decentralized. Literally, people raise their hand and say, hey, the last one was, I want to do Crypto Monday Medellin. So we are great. So we create a group, they're Crypto Monday Medellin. 2 weeks later, they sent an email, hey, is it okay if we do ABC? And we have a canned email that says, yes, you can do ABC. The only thing you can't do is write us an email saying, can I do ABC? What part of decentralization did you not understand? So it really is decentralized. So Dan and the team have made it here. And the best one, there are amazing ones in Paris and Shanghai and Tel Aviv and LA and San Francisco. So, and the idea is just this, is to get together and just, be a community, have a little bit of education, but mostly it's really the networking. I think that the majority of value comes from. That said, we're now going to have some fucking amazing content tonight. I'm so excited for both of the guys here that I get to have in the Fireside chat. So come on up, you guys can introduce yourselves and tell them who you are, but it's going to be a fun talk. It's going to be about, I'm going to get to ask a question for 20 minutes. We'll open it up to questions from the audience for 10 minutes, and then they're going to hang around for another hour plus, so we'll all get to hang with them some more. So come on up, guys. Janashia from DeFiZap.
Thank you, I'm Nodar.
Yeah. And just real quick, just in case they don't know what DeFiZap is.
DeFiZap is instant access to interesting opportunities in DeFi.
Hi, my name is Ameen. I run SpankChain, also help summon MolochDAO. SpankChain's like born on the blockchain. MolochDAO is a Ethereum-based grants giving organization.
Yeah, I don't know. I think this one's a little better, so I'll hand it off when I'm done. But I think these guys know who you are of the most part. Anyways, I had the pleasure of meeting Ameen about a year and a half ago now at a random meetup in Miami. There were like 10 guys at this meetup. And that's when I learned SpankChain. So just for the guys who don't know, maybe tell the minute story, because it's really amazing.
Yeah, so we started SpankChain to help bank models. Initially, we built a campsite called Spank Live. We built some payment channels. It was like we're the first ones to build payment channels on the Ethereum mainnet. Turns out the models didn't care a huge amount about that, so then we pivoted, took down Spank Live, and then right now our focus is Spank Pay. So it's probably what we should have done all along. It's like adult themed, it's very pink, sexy, kind of like a BitPay clone, and it just helps them accept crypto without needing to go through a lot of extra steps. And right now our focus is also trying to integrate like a debit card, so you don't have to sign up for an exchange to cash out. We have a merchant product as well. So it's like if you go to a couple different adult sites to buy either sexting credits or credits for cams or credits for clips, you might see SpankPay as the checkout experience.
And what was the problem that you were trying to solve when you set it up?
Well, we took a look around the crypto 2017 ecosystem, and there's a lot of people trying to blow sunshine up everyone's ass in order to launch their ICOs. And we just thought, where is this going to happen first? Like, who are the people that actually need this the most? Who are the people that have trouble with banking, are discriminated against, and could benefit from something like this? And so that's why we decided to focus on the adult industry, and that's the problem we're trying to solve.
Yeah, Super Bowl 7. This last question, and let's start with the back. Can you just talk about kind of scale, to think about the volume of transactions, etc. I don't know what's the right metric to think of scale.
The volume is pretty low still. It's like $1,000 a month.
And Nodar, I guess you were talking. You were actually at the first or second Crypto Monday in New York.
This was back in 2018.
Yeah,
beginning of 2018.
I don't think that mic is working.
Worked briefly, but then
Yeah.
you gotta hold it like this.
Okay,
Speak
yeah,
really
close.
into it.
Yes, okay.
Hello.
There you go, talk right into it. So why don't you talk, kind of your crypto origin story?
Crypto origin story? I kept hearing about Bitcoin and Ethereum from my friends and acquaintances for a while, since 2014 or whatever, but I didn't get into space until I saw a mining video in 2017. And the part that really intrigued me was the proof of work concept, and how it was, for me, my strong background in accounting, it was the next step to the double entry accounting system for me. So I decided to like fully jump in. Yeah.
And then what, you just started building, I remember, like tutorials and stuff?
That was more recent.
Yeah.
That was like last summer I started building tutorials, which was something that led into DeFiZap. So like DeFiZap is not something I had intention of like starting when I started making DeFi tutorials. I was just exploring composability in DeFi, and I saw that it wasn't really like a lot of opportunities weren't truly explored. So yeah.
And so the genesis then of DeFiZap?
Yeah, yeah. I kind of saw Kyber's hackathon going on. I needed some help, so I reached
What was
out.
the time frame?
It was in mid-October, and then within like 2 weeks we submitted our project and ended up winning that hackathon, and from there it kind of definitely gave us the boost to keep working. Yeah.
And now how has it evolved, since the hackathon?
Yeah, I mean, we kept paying attention to what people are doing in DeFi specifically. More recent, we've launched experiences around pooling, which kind of provide you one-click access to liquidity provisioning on Uniswap specifically, but we have other ones coming up now.
So that's super exciting. So you obviously have a couple other projects, but when you started MolochDAO, which has had a big impact already, just about the genesis of that.
Yeah, so we started writing the Moloch code at ETHDenver 2018. So it took a while. It was a group of us who wanted to build a grants organization, initially to do like state channel stuff because that's what we were doing, but then it sort of evolved into ETH2 because that seemed like the most pressing need for the ecosystem. It was like nights and weekends for a couple of us. James Young helped a lot. The Connects team helped a lot. And we tried to build the minimally viable DAO, right? We saw the DAO explode, and we read the post that was one of the posts that was written about it called Moratorium on the DAO, and it was like, hey, if you want to make this thing safe, do two things. One, let people take out their money at any time, and two, before votes are finalized and like executed, after the voting is done, before the proposal is executed, like just wait, have a grace period. And we're like, okay, we're gonna do only that. Everything else is standard, and that's all we did, and we called it the rage quit function. And I think the rage quit's actually going to, like, as a meme, like even go further than maybe MolochDAO, because what we're starting to see is that I didn't actually set out to write MolochDAO. I was hoping to use Aragon at the time, and I talked to the Aragon team members, and I was like, hey, I really think that people should be able to like take their money out without needing to like get a vote by the other members. And they were like, no, that's crazy. Like, why would anybody want that? I was like, it was hard to like prove it to them, right? And so I was like, okay, well, I'm gonna just try to do this. And it was like 400 lines of code. We shipped the thing, and now we've successfully inspired Aragon to implement the rage quit as part of their stack, and they've launched a project called Dandelion. Now, given that it's on, Aragon has like many thousands of lines of code. I'm gonna wait until they put money into it before I put money into it. And so Moloch has been quite successful. Like last year at ETHDenver, we launched it 2019. So if you had seen me at ETHDenver, I was like hustling people one by one, sitting down next to them. It didn't have an interface. I just like opened up my crypto, pasted in the ABI, and was like, send 100 Ether here, right? Like it had a bunch of complications. Somebody literally lost 100 ETH before my eyes. That was like kind of jarring. Went through like all the stages of grief, like denial, bargaining. It's pretty funny. Not for him, obviously.
You know the difference between comedy and tragedy? Comedy, yeah, comedy would have somebody else.
Yeah, exactly. So we can all laugh about it later. So we launched that. There was about 22 or so people that put in 100 ETH at first. We started making grants, just submitting proposals. We launched the ETH2 report, and we funded KioCan to do a bunch of great work on ETH2. We wrote like a networking spec because that was lacking. and eventually attracted.
When did you have? Yeah, I'm sorry. Go on.
I was going to say, and then eventually at Ethereal in New York in May, got Vitalik and Joe Lubin and Consensus and the Ethereum Foundation to each put in 1,000 Ether, which put Moloch over $1 million. And then we sort of ramped up.
And that, I mean, that seemed like obviously a really seminal event.
Yeah.
Were you surprised that how did that happen?
That exceeded my wildest expectations.
Yeah.
I thought that, I was like super pessimistic that we'd ever get the EF. I was like, maybe we can convince Vitalik, but I think made it attractive enough for them to want to participate in and really help push the narrative of decentralizing the Ethereum Foundation and the grants making process and experimenting with these new on-chain DAOs and governance mechanisms and really showing leadership. Because when they joined, that sort of made it click in a lot of people's minds. That's what a lot of people use. Oh, this is real, right? This is this could work. Maybe I can do it, right? Peter Pan, who as the summoner of the MetaCartel, put it very well. He's like, you were the first one to run a 4-minute mile, and everyone figured out that they could too, and now everybody's doing it.
That's a great analogy.
And so yeah, I'm proud of some of the things that I was able to fund. We were the first money to Tornado Cash, which is like an ETH-based mixer. Supported a bunch of the ETH2 teams, stuff like that. So
Exciting stuff. So now let's talk about what now you're here. Obviously you got here early. You're going to be spending a whole week here. What are you hoping to get out of ETH? Have you been here before?
No, it's my first time here. I'm definitely hoping to obviously meet a lot of people I've been speaking to online for a while. That's number one. And
I mean, what's it been like? I mean, it's obviously it's scaled obviously beyond your expectations as well. I mean, what are the metrics that you focus on?
Yeah, a couple of metrics. I mean, first is the main one is how much ETH that we've helped deploy into DeFi. So, like one of the things.
So would you say like the ETH and Zaps?
Yeah. So like whenever you use a Zap, whenever you send ETH to a Zap, we do like some kind of action for it. So we take it, split it into two, and provide we add it to a liquidity on Uniswap pool, or we help you get 2x positions on both Bitcoin and Ether on using one of the platforms for that. So yeah, it's lots of kind of different combinations you can think of.
And when you start then under that, where are you now?
So now we're kind of building up this floor for basically a pool yield aggregator, you can think of it. So essentially, recently we announced the Zap outs. Next, we're going to have Zap bridge, so you'll be able to jump between pools in one click. And then as more pooling opportunities are coming into space, stuff like Curve, Balancer, and others, we're going to help you get into those as well. And eventually, as I said, we're kind of, as you can tell, building up a floor for this to be automated, so you can continue using it manually, kind of keeping full control over the process yourself, over the decision-making process, or you could use this robo-advisor that does the rebalancing for you. Yeah.
Cool. We'll talk now about the MolochDAO. Now, obviously, it's been forked many times. MetaCartel is probably the one that, at least from my perspective, that's got the most attention. But you want to talk about that, and because you like the 4-minute mile. I like that analogy, but in some way, I feel like maybe like you made the shoe, and everybody's wearing the same shoe. Now they can do it too.
Yeah, Peter Pan is really special. So I actually found him because I saw his blog post, and he was like writing about like Tron and EOS dApps, and I was looking around. I was like, who is this person in the Ethereum community that like is actually willing to scout out and like look at other things, and we're not just in our own like little echo chamber. And I was like, I want whatever he knows to be closer to me. So I tried to personally recruit him into MolochDAO, and he was the first person rejected by the other MolochDAO members. And his crime was being poor, because at the time we were having, like, what should the minimum amount of ETH be that somebody could get in with conversations, because we were like, this is going to introduce coordination overhead. And it's like, why are we turning down money, right, in some sense? So he only had 10 Ether to put in, and like the minimum was like 100, and I was like, this doesn't really make sense, but he was rejected, so I called him up and I was like, hey, let's make another one. And he's like, actually, I'm 2 steps ahead of you. I already talked to like James Young, and we are, forking Moloch for MetaCartel. I was like, fantastic, let me know how I can help, right? And so he went and he rallied the already existing MetaCartel community that had been born out of trying to build stuff on meta transactions to improve UX. It's a bunch of application layer companies, projects that put in money, like SpankChain put in 69 ETH. So he rallied that community and then shipped the MetaCartel DAO and raised, I think it has like a couple $100,000 or so, and has given out something like $30,000, $40,000, $50,000 in grants, something in that range. And so that was really cool, and that community has now bloomed, and we're seeing a number of additional DAO efforts, like MetaClan is like a gaming-oriented DAO, and another one. And so like once Peter did that, we actually started just like seeing how many DAOs we could start. So we were trying to do like super low friction. So I was like tweeting, I was like taking applications for a marketing DAO lead, right? And then like 13 people reached out to me. And so I put them all in a Telegram group. And then Peter wrote a guide of like how to DAO. And it's like, get a logo, like a website, like figure out what you're gonna give grants for, right? And like da-da-da. Write a blog post, like get money. And so we wrote that guide, and then we just like left it alone. And I don't know if anything will come of it, but it seems that it exists and that they're doing cool stuff. And more and more we're seeing just people realizing that this is available, the code is secure, people are using it. The guy who made Kickback made his own Orichi DAO, which was just like common pool of funds to pay for an event expenditures, and then everybody gets back whatever they wasn't spent. Makes sense, right? Did I predict that use case? Absolutely not. Another one we made was Yang DAO. So, not because we thought he would actually win, but because the memes were cool. And like we put in like $5,000, and then some dude showed up and started making deepfakes of like Yang over Trump, or like Yang over Elon Musk, talking about like AI and automation. And we're like, this is wild, and we just like paid that dude some money. Mostly, we're very into like the meme-driven development, right? So like now that's just like a talking point, and other people can be like, oh look, they did that. Like we could do this for other political candidates, right? So I think that was that's been pretty cool to all see happen. We didn't expect it to go that well. Sort of knew that it might have some effect, but it's really the community of people here are like interested in coordinating, and therefore want to launch and join these types of structures and participate.
So cool. So who is here now that you're, all these guys who are here, what projects are you most excited about, like connecting with?
From here?
Yeah.
Actually not sure if these projects are here specifically, but definitely wanted to connect with the team from Cowrie. Have you guys heard of this new project, Cowrie?
How do you spell it?
COWRI.io. Yeah, it's a pretty cool project. Also in regards to like stable coins, they issue these shells that contain a basket of stable coins, and then others are able to accept any kind of stable coin there and kind of come out.
Is it a shell? I'm not familiar with that. Turns out, is that like a wrapper?
It's their own term that they come out with. I guess that's the name Cowrie. So like shows.
Interesting. Well, cool. Well, look, again, the idea is also to allow the community to ask some questions as well. So I don't know if anybody has got a question out there. These guys up here, going once. I'm happy to ask more questions.
Happy to do one. I think like looking at different crypto companies, like it's pretty tricky to balance. Do we raise on equity? Do we raise on the token? Do we raise on the rip share? How the fuck do we get money to actually scale the thing? Obviously going like through two different paths. Like, what do you guys think about how to actually mass adopt that? And which path should we take? How's that journey been?
So, yeah, it's there's no great answer, right? So like SpankChain did an ICO, raised $6 million in a global public auction, sold Spank tokens. You stake your Spank in the Spank Bank, mints booty. Booty gets minted proportional to our company's revenue. So we use the money we make, buy back, and burn booty, which then generates more booty. That's one system. One way of doing it, a token. We didn't sell any equity. A lot of the people who sold tokens also sold equity, and then the end result of that was just their equity shareholders cut out all their token holders, which is part of why we didn't sell equity. I think rev shares are pretty interesting and probably underappreciated in the space, partly because of the difficulty of selling them to people. I think that like one of the things that we're about to launch is Moloch V2, which is like Moloch V1 was a money losing DAO. You put in money and then you distribute shares of that money, but you can't like buy things. So Moloch V2, you can have a portfolio, invest in things, buy things. And so MetaCartel, again, Peter is leading the charge and launching the first implementation of that, which is going to be called MetaCartel Ventures. So like, if there is a viable target for selling things like revenue shares, maybe even like time boxed, or like up to a certain limit that you don't ever need to then like, it's kind of like a loan. Like maybe you don't actually need to sell it to somebody else in order to get the money back. Like that could be pretty cool. I think once these for-profit DAOs come up, we'll see a lot more interest in solving the problem of tokenizing various types of securities like equity. And then on the other side, there's like raising money from DAOs, or like through a DAO, right? So like Moloch couldn't have been a company, right? It was just a way for people to give grants, and like it has no legal structure, right? People are like, what's the jurisdiction? I'm like, Ethereum, right? And like that, while that might sound crazy, like the last DAO, you could argue, had its charter revoked by Ethereum. So like, who knows, right? But yeah, so it's like, it really depends on what you're trying to accomplish. I don't know, I put in money in RocketDAO, which is Alex's like lending DAO. So like, would I have bought equity? It's like kind of complicated, right? I can take my money out. I kind of like that. So it's a very low friction way of signaling support for somebody without taking a huge amount of risk.
But you could also take equity out, right? The idea of, I don't know, of the continuous corporation, right? They're always buying and selling equity.
Yeah, and so like if there's, V2, like you could launch with that and like use that to buy back stuff, right?
You have thoughts on the?
Yeah, I was just going to add on the for-profit DAOs, especially the revenue sharing DAO, is like kind of what we're exploring currently. Like, it would be awesome to maybe use Moloch's V2 for this. So, a lot of people have been requesting custom Zap, so we really want to open up a floor to kind of create your own Zap and make a living out of that. So, yeah, we're thinking of sort of, somebody submits a proposal for a new Zap, and then all the voters, they voted in, it gets deployed, and then the person who created it gets these revenue sharing tokens, and maybe even also a little bit of voting rights, right? So you can at any time kind of withdraw his portion of the accrued fees from a pool. Yeah, so it's kind of like one of the things we're thinking of. And
Can you just talk a little bit louder?
Sorry. And then one of the things we're thinking of in terms of raising liquidity for the team internally from that DAO is then instead of raising cash, we're raising liquidity and getting an instant access to a portion of that cash. And then investors obviously get immediate, DAO tokens. And then their liquidity gets put into this DynaMixApp, which is this robo-advisor, which basically makes money for them up until the point that they make this money back or X amount of time expires. This kind of also, if investors are truly believing in the project, and then this kind of a pool that will generate revenue for them, and it's also kind of putting that initial, initial liquidity injection into that as a sport.
So you guys did some work with the DAO, like in terms of also having a legal entity for this new contract. Can you speak to that at all, or kind of what the work was behind that?
Yeah, we've been working super closely with OpenLaw to launch the DAO. So like the DAO will also use MolochDAO, or they might add a couple things on top of it.
Just for the camera again, make sure they hear what a DAO is.
Yeah, so the DAO stands for the Limited Liability Autonomous Corporation or Organization. And so it's launched by OpenLaw, which is a consensus-backed team that focuses on the legal side of things. And so the DAO is trying to be the sort of on-chain Y Combinator, where they will take 10% equity in new startups, and I think they're raising now, so they're trying to raise a $2.5 million first, DAO 1, and you can buy in with 25K, and they'll get 100 people in, and then they'll start making investments. That is also based on the same code as MolochDAO, so it's pretty cool to see that there's like two actually different legal instantiations on top of the same code base. So we can run both experiments in parallel. MetaCartel Ventures is like a little bit more experimental, a little bit more renegade, YOLO type thing, right? And then the DAO is more like consensus Illuminati, LARPing Y Combinator.
Cool. I thought you guys had done the same legal entities. That's good to know.
Yeah. Yeah, we work super closely with them. Working with them is fun. They initially wanted to like add like a bunch of administrative functions to the DAO. They're like, what if we can have a function, it'll make our lives more convenient and maybe reduce our liability if we can like add members at any time. And it's like, you can like specify the number of shares. And so it's like, okay, you realize if you get hacked, like I could just put like a bajillion here and take all the money in the DAO immediately. They're like, let's not. It's like, okay. So yeah, working with them is great because I didn't have a lot of the legal knowledge, right? And so they were able to fill in some of the design requirements that really made MolochDAO complementary to the legal structure.
Once?
When you were talking about liquidity with funds, you said there was a timer. So is that like a specific range of time at which they stop receiving? So if like you say that they have 3 years of liquidity.
Not whatever there is. Basically, the team and the investing party, they get to decide on a time frame at which point, even if this pool didn't make back the investment which the team used initially, they can that money gets unlocked, and even if it's at a loss, they can kind of take their money out. So it's setting it's either the liquidity, the pool gets to the same size as it was before, or X amount of time is reached, whichever happens sooner.
Got it.
Yeah.
Outside of the investment legal space, where do you think DAOs can make the biggest difference?
I don't really know. I haven't spent a lot of time thinking about that, believe it or not. I think that's everyone has like a take-home question. It's like, where do you think? I think one area that I'm pretty interested in for Moloch V1 is like, just even like the nonprofit side is like, there's this guy named Santiago Siri who runs a company called, or an organization called Democracy Earth. And so he came in and he actually transparently bribed his way in because he like wrote a smart contract that gave somebody else money to vote him in, which was pretty cool to see happen. And then his background is like politics. He ran for Argentinian Congress. He got like a couple percentages of the vote. He works a lot with NGOs and nonprofits, and like he created his whole nice clean interface that doesn't have like a demon god in the background. For Moloch, it's moloch.democracy.earth, and like he's having conversations with like NGOs and nonprofits as like, hey, you can use this type of thing for like, cross-border capital allocation. And I think he's getting interesting feedback, and people are like, whoa, I didn't even know that was possible. I think people are, outside of Moloch specifically, there's a guy, an organization called Saint Fame DAO, and they have like a whole like t-shirt store brand, and they've now made it like a community-owned brand. And I think that's pretty cool. It would be great to see more, what are they called? Super PACs, right? So like Yang DAO is like kind of like a super PAC, right? We're gonna call it that. So it'd be great to see other people try to do that too. Yeah. You got any DAO ideas?
Yeah, I mean, to be honest, I think it's like, what I'm excited about is like these new models that we haven't even thought about. Like, I don't know, it's, I guess like you're providing this platform for people to experiment with, and people are just taking and running with it. So I love seeing that kind of all, like, especially right now, like recently, it's been like crazy explosion of these experiments. So I would love seeing that.
Here's a fun thought experiment that we came up with. So like, I'm really bullish on personal tokens. I think they're really cool. Peter hit me up. He's like, hey, you should tokenize your tweets. I'm like, all right, fine. So we created the Pew token. So it's like pew pew pew. Hash, tickers pew. So you can buy them at pew.buymagic.xyz, and if you send me a pew, I will tweet whatever you want. And so retweet or quote tweet. And that was pretty cool. And then like a couple days later, Peter launched Magic tokens. And so you go to buymagic.xyz, you can buy Peter's token, and his token is worth like 1 hour of his time. And so something that derived from that was a project that I called Slave DAO. So the idea behind Slave DAO is that men only, right, because men are slaves, it's like the Valar Doharis, right, all men must serve. So, we could tokenize our time, and the way you get into slave DAO is you offer a life debt. And so I offer my life debt to the DAO, and the only way I break out of my bondage is that the DAO redeems the life debt that I have offered it, and sends that back to me, because I've done something. I put 10 or 100 hours in, and a bunch of people could pool. You get 100 people or 1,000 people all pool their time together, and that's interesting because the way it warps the incentives is now I'm incentive aligned with all of the other people in the slave DAO to make all of our time collectively more valuable. These are the people that I'm going to want to share my referrals with, opportunities that come my way with, help them, if they need help. And that's like on a, we talk about like Y Combinator and stuff, and it's like, oh, they invested in the company, and the company did. But it's like, what if, we could just get under all of that and just invest in the people directly, right? And like create these sort of organizations of incentive alignment just around people. Like, I think that'd be pretty sweet. And yeah, it's like joint slave DAO.
Well, right, the idea is it's alignment. Now you've got everybody aligned in the community to optimize for the community. Interesting idea. Going once? Anybody going twice? Well, look, this, I said we'd be in over in a half hour. It's right about a half hour, so let's give these guys a big hand. That was awesome. You want to finish up?
Sure,
Anything?
why not? Say thanks again. Well, thank you all again. That was awesome. Epic. And I know we have so much more going on, including we're actually starting a little late. If you guys are interested in RSK, we have a workshop going on to teach you a little bit about smart contracts on top of RSK. So this is the Bitcoin blockchain being used with the Ethereum virtual machine sitting on top. Really interesting stuff. So developers, if you want to go check it out, we got some empanadas and some fun stuff going on. Otherwise, please hang out, go get some more beer, and stick around.